Hello there, and welcome to the Polly Podcast. My name is Torkel Tenberg, and the written versions of these episodes can be found in the blog over at Pollyverse.com. Also, if you want to see my face while I'm reading this podcast episode to you, then I also upload them to YouTube. But otherwise, you can catch them on Spotify or a bunch of other places that you can find over at Anchor, which is where I upload it to, and then it gets distributed to all the places from there. I'm still getting to understand it, so I don't know. Message me if you have a specific place where you want to watch it, and I'll let you know if you can or not. So, today's episode. We've been gone for a little while. I've actually been really busy with work, and I've been helping my partner, Emma, get her driver's license. So, yeah. But don't fear, because I've also been writing a lot of episodes, just haven't recorded them. So I'm actually going to make up for all the weeks that were lost and add in extra episodes during the coming months so that it'll be all caught up. But today, we have the last of the written blog post episodes that I've been catching up on with the podcast. As I've said before, these are all written blog posts that I've written earlier in the year, and I'm now just reading them on the podcast because I have the blog and the podcast synced together. So you have the audio and the written versions of it, basically. So today's the last one. And basically what happened when I wrote this one was I missed the deadline for finishing the novel, I think I've mentioned it before already. But I still haven't finished the novel now. I've actually been editing it with the help of Emma. And that's going to be an ongoing project into later this year, definitely. But straight after I missed the deadline, I wanted to do something else. And I saw that my favorite place, Spam Press, were advertising that they wanted to take more submissions for different pamphlets of poetry. So I was like, okay, I've been working on this novel, this long form type thing for a long time now. And poetry was, one of the first things that I got into. So I was like, yep, I'm going to bust out some poetry. And I wrote a bunch of new stuff, and I collected a bunch of old stuff together and put it into about a 30-page pamphlet book. And I also used my friend's artwork, Colleen. You can check out she goes under Unexist on Instagram. I'll leave a link to that. Super cool Photoshop artwork, real surreal sort of stuff. And I used her artwork basically to go along with a lot of the poems. And I thought it was really cool. What I ended up calling it was Poems from an Aggressive Vegan, I believe. And that's exactly what it was. It was sort of vegan themed poetry that I pulled out of a file on my computer called Vegan Propaganda Poetry, where I have stashed a lot of that kind of thing. And I put it all together in an aesthetic format. It was supposed to be sort of modern age, to fit in with Spam's theme, which I think I've talked about them in other episodes, but they're like post-internet poetry, one of my favorite places, and I've taken a lot of inspiration from their pamphlets, so I definitely wrote in some of these pieces in that kind of style. So the idea of it was to make people consider veganism through using aesthetic poetry and visual art and messaging that isn't preachy and over the top and droning, not traditional evangelist messaging, basically. And I think it came across pretty well. And I really want to thank Colleen for letting me use her work, because it was super. It just made it all work. It really wouldn't have worked without it, I got to say. But what ended up happening was I sent it off to spam, and they didn't have room for it, unfortunately. But they enjoyed it and they read over it, and I read back on it, and I thought, oh yeah, this was rushed. This was thrown together. You have the benefit of hindsight looking back on it. And now I've actually come up with a new project for that, which will turn into a bigger form book with a more concrete idea. And it actually caused me to reflect upon a lot of what I've been writing, because as I've said before, I have all these files on my computer. I have all these notepads of just things that I write, just free flow. I always forget the word for it. Flow of consciousness, that's the word, I think. Type of stuff that I just come up with when, I get some sort of inspiration from something that I'm watching or listening to, or just something pops into my head that I'm thinking about, or some music or something. And I just write something, and it's all over the place. There's not really any cohesive narrative to any of it. It's all scattered across that, and I just try to lump it into files on my computer. But anyway, I've been trying to focus in on singular projects, which is really difficult because my brain just wants to go here and there and try this other thing that I'm thinking about. So I've been practicing that with the novel, obviously. And anyway, upon reflection, I was like, yeah, I do have these sort of themes that I do touch upon subconsciously with a lot of my writing. One of them, of course, being veganism or political activism type messaging, definitely. And many other things as well. So I've divided them up into different projects that I want to do in the future. So they're just sort of sitting there in the back of my mind, as well as on the computer as files. So whenever I write something under one of the, I think it's like 4 different themes that I have right now, I just pop it in that folder. And then eventually after this book, then I'll be right on to the next one, kind of thing. And I'm excited for the future. I'm sort of glad about the way it all went with finishing this pamphlet and then it getting rejected, because I wouldn't have had that opportunity to reflect like that if it weren't for that. I had this period of a couple months where I was just hardcore writing for this novel, and I wrote half a book in that time. It was insane. And now I just have all this reflection to think about what my direction is, what my style is, what I'm actually good at, so I can play into that more, what I'm weak at, so I can develop that, what I need to edit, and then how I can move forward, what to keep in mind for the future. And it's exciting. It may sound like I'm hyper focused to the point of detriment or something like that, but it's really, this is how I become when I'm passionate about something. I really just go crazy with it, and I really enjoy it. I don't get that sense of burnout really, unless I hate something, This is a tangent, but as a kid, I played basketball as mainly a teenager. And I remember I'd play minimum 4 hours a day, every day for years. And then I'd do workouts specific for balance and coordination and core strength and things like that as well. And I was just so dedicated at that. And it's similar with this, but with more experience now. I haven't had that same commitment to something like I did with that since that, until I found writing. Writing's definitely something that I see myself doing for the rest of my life. And I'm probably talking about basketball because I just went and played by myself on the court today. I've been getting a little bit back into it, and it's really meditative to do it. Even if I'm not competitive or anything, if I'm just doing it for myself or some exercise or socially or whatever. And it's the same with writing as well. I don't really care what happens with it. I just want to keep getting better, and I want to keep doing what I'm doing, keep plugging along with my little projects that I care about, and put it out into the world and see if it can inspire anyone else to follow what they are too scared to follow, or maybe get them to turn vegan or something. So that's what today's episode was about. I can't really read from the blog post because it's so far in the past now that a lot of it doesn't make sense. But if you want to read the blog post to see it, then you can go over to pollyverse.com and check that out. But I'm going to finish on... Oh yeah, and also you should go over to the blog post as well to check out Colleen's artwork, or her Instagram as well, Unexist, because I left one of the artworks there on the website as well. That goes along with what I'm about to read, which is one of the poems from the said book. And the poem, which I'm going to read for you right now, is called Car Door. And then we'll end it on that. Oh, before I read, I was going to say as well, now we're on to new episodes after this. I might even record another one today because I have a few written, and it's going to be more poems, some short stories. I'm also going to do book reviews of stuff that I've been reading. I haven't written any of those yet. I've been making notes for it though. This might be the first one. 1984 by George Orwell. Classics. I like the classics, so there's going to be stuff like that. And what was the other thing? Yeah, some more vegan stuff as well. That's coming up too, for sure. All right, so I'm going to leave you with that, and I'm going to read for you Car Door. Enjoy. Driven to dive deep into a dwelling, twice was the amount of time it took to reconcile said sudden red asphyxiations intertwined in tandem with a rare strain of tuberculosis. The proctologist propped me up on a pedestal to make it easier for him or her or they to karate chop my shins. Bleeding wet cartilage mess on his sweater already. Definitely not Mum's spaghetti, though he is nervous. Random thoughts of a pink dolphin careening into the side of a building. 2 scoops of mint choc chip while on a date in Delaware. This is God's country. Lying underneath the stars, wrapped in striped towel with my boo. I am left with nothing but the feeling of bad porridge. Too late, and it's already made its way into the back of the pickup truck, aka Ute, where all of my desperate affections lay congealed. Still working up the courage to contemplate the consideration of my life as my own. What a waste it would be to reward my own positive actions and or affiliations with gang violence in fear of a scraped elbow to be had. So there you have it. Hope you like that one. I'm hoping that you can sort of see what some of those parts mean based on my description of the overall project. Hopefully you get an idea for it. I like leaving it a little bit mysterious as well. It is a weird one, just to see what kind of imagery you get from it. So yeah, hope you all have a good day, and I'll see you not too soon, hopefully, in the next episode. Bye-bye.